Welcome back to 13C, everyone. Today we're going to take a look at some firearm storage options, give you some thoughts and ideas about them, as well as taking a look here at the rifle length shelf from Tactical Walls. We're going to give you a full in-depth review of this, opening it, closing it, installing it, cutting out the foam inserts and things like that. Here at the 13C Hacienda, we have a rather large piece of property. We have a large ranch style house, as well as having some outbuildings. We have wild animals, including a number of coyotes that encroach on the property quite often, actually, as you've seen for some of my other videos and some of the reviews that we're going to be doing coming up here, trying to take some more of them out. Not just to mention any possible criminal element which may decide to roll through. So in addition to having a traditional firearm, handgun, let's say, for self-defense, having a rifle available immediately to respond to any concerns. Say you let the dog outside and next thing you know there's a coyote fight. It'd be much better to go outside with a rifle as opposed to going outside with just a handgun. If you love your animals like I do, you'd want to try and defend them as best you can. This shelf serves that purpose. Keeps it readily available in a discreet fashion, and also keeps it out of the hands of any unauthorized persons. Keep in mind, unauthorized persons may be small children. As you know, I have 3 daughters of my own, and while I trust them and their instruction on firearms and firearms safety, we also have friends. They also have friends over. So there are all other small children that could be roaming around, including teenagers, that you might not want to trust them to be as safe with your firearms as your own children would be. And of course, all it would take is a momentary lapse in judgment from your own children that could end in disaster. So this is a great solution to that, as opposed to trying to have a safe in every room if you wanted to try and have rifles available to you. One of the first things you notice about this shelf when you get it is a very nice piece of furniture. It's not just something that's practical, but it looks nice. It has a great finish. It comes in this huge bubble wrapped package inside a very thick cardboard outside container that protects it from any bumps or scratches. So when it shows up, it looks like it just came off the factory floor. I opted for the black model. Kind of goes more with the theme of the house here. A lot of the things that I have around, you would look at this shelf and think it fits in perfectly with everything else here. I also opted for the black rope trim around it. I think that gives it another added touch, and that gives it some more depth, if you will. So when you're looking at this, you see a lot of woodworking, a lot of design here, and it's even looking at it and knowing what this is, looking at it, you can't tell that this is a drop-down shelf. You notice I have it mounted up high. As most of you guys know, I'm about 6'2", 6'3". This is actually a high shelf, high mounting for this, probably higher than you would put it. I've done it for a number of reasons, not just to make it easier for entry and egress here into this area, but also later I may be putting some bookcases and things down here for some other storage. So I mount it up high. Another nice option for mounting it up high is little hands can't get up here. You've got to have a reach of 6'2", 6'1", just to be able to touch this top portion right here, which is nice. Keeps the hands away from things. My firstborn and I like to build Legos, as you can tell here with this tie interceptor. No little kids running around. They shouldn't be in this room to begin with, but if they were, they're not going to be able to run in here and grab that and pick it up and possibly break it all apart and then have to rebuild it. It's a hassle. You don't want that. We'll go ahead and show you guys a look at how to install this, and then we'll come right back.
This is basically what you're going to need for the install. It comes with these screws for your studs, as well as these support brackets that you would use for the top of the shelf to help support it for its weight when it's fully loaded, as well as these drywall screws. Now the drywall screws are there in case you can't find a third stud, and that would allow you to have a third fixation point on the wall if you don't have that third stud available. In my case, I'm altering the position on the wall where I would optimally like to place it slightly over in order to catch that third stud, because what I want to do is go off the reservation a little bit and free float this shelf. So I won't be using these support brackets at all. I'll be using all 6 of these directly into the studs, as well as these guys right here. These are the exact same type of screw, except for they're gold, obviously, and they're about 1/2 inch longer than what's already there. This way I'll be putting 3 screws in per stud. Now that should give me more than enough support to free float this shelf. I'll probably get an email from Tactical Walls here shortly after this video posts that I shouldn't be doing that just for safety's sake, but I'm going to go ahead and try and free float it and see how it works out. The first step here for installation is to find your studs. Here I've already got them marked out. You can just take a stud finder and it'll show you the exact location. I'd recommend picking one of these up. You can knock on the walls here. If you hear that, tell the hollowness and the change. Down here though, it's much less perceptive and audible, the change. So I've got those found and marked out. Let's move on to the next step. The next step is pretty straightforward. You drill your pilot holes. You want to make sure you use the right drill bit. I'm using a 1/8 inch drill bit here. Now at this point it's probably important for me to note that yes, I did in fact measure these holes and I did mark them. I didn't just randomly place them here. And they are at 0 inches, 16 inches, and 32 inches to match the studs that are in my wall. I want to thank my wife. She helped me out here holding up the shelf and keeping it in line and in position while I drilled in those initial 3. So right now this is actually sitting here with just 3 screws. I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest now with her not in the way of the camera here a little bit. Hopefully you'll be able to see a little better and you'll be able to see what we're going to do here next. So we've got the other 2 in there. I'm going to put one more of the factory screws in here. And I'm going to put one of these in here as well. Looks like my battery may be giving out on me here with this. Which isn't a problem. I'll switch over to the other drill, a little more powerful, but at least that'll finish us off. That'll do it for those. One of the next steps is getting your insert in. The insert is made of this foam material, and the entire back of it has a sticky side to it that you'll peel off. And I recommend to actually practice inserting it and taking it back out before you actually peel off the backing and put it in there. Seems relatively straightforward to me, but they do want you to get your technique down before you put it in. The one thing I would point out here, it's probably the reasoning why, this bottom part is basically going to be flush with this, and you want to make sure the top here, where this gold hinge is, that you're installing it properly so that it's below that hinge and you don't go a little high and get over the hinge, or obviously it's not going to close. With it hinged and up like that, there it is. Setting up your inserts fairly straightforward. Lay your items out in the area you want them to be. Take a razor blade and trace around them. A couple of tips here, I would say. You don't actually have to go all the way through this foam. Here I've gone about 2/3 of the way through. And the benefit of that is you actually leave your firearm or your accessory slightly proud. Makes it a little easier to grab out of instead of having to actually dig and fight the foam for it. Another tip would be to leave at least an inch worth of spacing, maybe 1.5 inches, between your accessories or firearms. That way you've actually got enough foam there that it still keeps a solid barrier and you're not actually fighting against it.
As you can tell, installation is very simple, very easy to do, provided you have at least one helper with you. This is a quality piece of furniture here. You will need someone to help you hold it in place while you install it. Also, if you noticed the little post-it notes that I had up there, that'll help you to align things better. It's just a little trick I have for, in addition to the post-it notes, an exact arrow to precisely where I wanted it. Allowed me to get it up quickly, get my holes drilled through those pre-pilot holes I drilled going into the stud, line those up very quickly, very efficiently, and not put too much time and effort on the person who's helping you out with it. Like I mentioned, this is a great fit and finish, fits well. It's a quality piece of furniture. This is not just functional, but it's very aesthetically pleasing. It looks great. I want to thank Nick V. We had a little contest as to guessing what's in here, and he came the eerily close to guessing what's actually in here. If you notice in some of those things, a lot of people guessed PS90. One of the reasons why they did was because on Instagram I had posted a picture of the foam cutout of that rifle, so that was kind of a dead giveaway as to what rifle was in here. Nick, please reach out to us via the same method you used to put that in, and we will make sure we get that mailed out to you. Private message, obviously. We don't want your address going out over the web. So, opening this is very easy. These are magnets. They go right into place, and it drops right down. There are some strut devices, one on each side, that when the shelf drops down, it doesn't just free fall down. Those struts will help it go down as well. I haven't actually let the full weight of it come down without one hand under it to support it, just because, as you've noticed, I have free floated this, and with those extra screws, I don't think this thing is going anywhere. It's been up for a couple of days. It is secure and solid as a rock, but for disclaimer purposes, you really should be using those support brackets on top, and I'm sure Tactical Walls would agree there. But in my case, putting those extra screws, so I actually have 3 screws into each stud, including those longer screws that I had laying around that are 3-inch screws as well to go into those studs. So like I said, solid as a rock, and I think this is going to do just fine. So here's the PS90 as my rapid response rifle. I've got a Glock 17 over here, 2 spare magazines, as well as a flashlight. Of course, the 13C patch, which you guys recognize, and our buddy the Ghost Gun operator in there as well. I couldn't be more pleased with this shelf, the way it installed, the way it actually functions. It's very practical. If you notice, when I opened this, a light automatically came on. These are motion detected LED lights. You can set the variable on and off time as well. Seeing other pictures of these on the web when I ordered them and on the website, the lighting, putting 3 in here looks really good. Aesthetically very pleasing, looks nice to the eye, looks cool. As I put in this first one, situational awareness kicked in, and I realized that if I'm pulling something out here, do I want a light here with a potential threat coming at me from behind? It's probably not a good idea. So you'll want to weigh your visual looks versus functionality as to what you want to do. Considering this is, obviously I carved these out in foam as you saw, this layout isn't going to change. When I drop this down, I'll always know the rifle's going to be here, the handgun's going to be here, the flashlight's going to be here. I may just take this one light that's in there out just to remove that, just in case I ever needed that in a life or death situation. Take these other ones and put them in my other safes, because I do like these lights. They're functional, they work very well, and they put off a nice pleasing light as well. So I will utilize these. I'm just not sure I'm sold with the idea of lighting this up. Like I said, in an important situation, would you want to be backlit? I think not, but you can set the variability on these. This one's on high right now, just for the video, so it won't go out anytime soon. But you can set the variability on these to a low level, and they go out after about 15 or 20 seconds, something like that. So something to consider. When this shelf is closed up, even if the light's still on and hasn't gone out yet, you cannot see anything through it once it's closed up because of the design lip here. So if that's a concern, don't worry about it. If you guys have any questions about what you've seen here, please feel free to reach out to us, either facebook.com/gun reviews, a great way to get a hold of us. Instagram, we have a lot of fun over there. We are at 13C gun reviews. I see other behind the scenes stuff, which I alluded to earlier. Got a sneak peek on this swag giveaway here as to what at least the rifle was going to be that's in here. I should probably throw this out here now because I'm sure there's going to be at least one comment down below that'll ask, is it a good idea to let people know this is in your house in case somebody breaks in? To that, I would say, you know, if someone knows this is my house, breaking in would probably make them a candidate for the Darwin Award. As you know, I do have a little bit of skill myself. My wife does. Our light went off and there it goes back on. My wife does as well as our other family members here at the Hacienda who are well trained and also carry. So it'd probably not be a good idea. Between two-legged threats and four-legged threats, security alarms, cameras, things like that, it's probably not going to be a good idea. On the off chance somebody did, I would assume they'd probably try and target us when no one was home, which is going to be really hard. So almost someone always here. But if everyone's going to be out of town for any kind of period of time, I would take this out of here and put it into a regular safe. Realize this, while this is a nice, sturdy, functional item, it is a piece of furniture, it is wood. So while idle hands aren't going to be able to get into this thing, a crowbar is easily going to be able to get in here and defeat this, because it is, like I said, wood. It's not a high security device. This is a concealment, more of a concealment type device, keeping things from falling into the wrong hands. As you guys see here, this shelf is mounted fairly high. I did that for several purposes, including the fact that if I put it any lower, I don't want to more run into it with my shoulders. I came by, I've got a little area here. So, and also thinking about putting some stuff underneath it. So this height worked for me. One thing, if you are concerned about putting it too high, keep in mind, looking underneath here, you are visually and aesthetically, you are not going to be able to tell this is something that drops down. It's all completely enclosed, so if you're worried about someone coming up and glancing and looking underneath here and things like that, it's not a concern at all. It looks just like a flat, one solid type of device, and it looks actually like a couple other free-floated shelves I have or mantles here in the house. It doesn't appear out of place at all. Thanks again, everyone. Like I said, please, if you find this interesting, like and share it with your friends. I've got some other videos that are going to be coming up kind of along the same lines of home defense that you may want to check out. Thanks again, everyone. Be safe.